Hey everybody, what is up? It is Berlin. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Hi. So we're doing reviews at the moment of Dragula Titans season 2. Wow, it is explosive so far. We've got up to episode 2 in my reviews over here. So now we're going to carry on to episode 3, the wedding episode. And first of all, I'd like to say it's very rude how none of you have congratulated me on my wedding. So this week the challenge for everybody was to make a groom look and a bride look, because the idea was they were marrying themselves. This actually really reminded me of like an old Drag Race challenge. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was season 2. Was it season 2? Yeah, it was season 2 of Drag Race, where they did this same thing. You make a bride look, a groom look, and then they had like a picture together in the Drag Race one. This one on Dragula, they didn't do the whole photograph and photoshopping it together. They didn't do that, but they made it like you did 2 separate runways, so a bride look and a groom look. And they were really cool. I really enjoyed the runways. We're going to get into that in a moment. But first of all, the fright feat. Now, the fright feat was, of course, because it's a wedding challenge, they gave them wedding cake. And it's no ordinary wedding cake, being Dragula, you know. There were little, like, maggots, mealworms in there. You know, like the kind of little things that you would use if you go fishing. Those little tiny, teeny worms. What made me laugh with the challenge was Eva, like literally, boom, face planting the cake, smashing her face right in there to this cake, describing how the worms felt like a little bit crunchy. I was like, nice, you know. So with the wedding cake, the idea was they were supposed to be looking for like a wedding band, a wedding ring, and then whoever found the wedding ring in the cake would get to cast the curse of rain on your wedding day to somebody when they were in their bride look. So Jaharia found the wedding band and decided to curse Sigourney Beaver. Sigourney Beaver made a bit of a joke about it at first, saying, oh, everybody likes a wet beaver. You know, yeah, in theory. So I was quite like, oh, okay, she's going to get into it. This is going to be really cool. No, not quite. Of course, while they're doing finishing touches on their outfits, ready for the runways, some of the cast are all talking, chatting, and Sigourney brings up again how she's not happy with Dahlia trying to get people disqualified from the competition by going to production about La Zavaletta's prescription and all of that stuff, about Jade and Priscilla drinking. She brings all of this up about how she's not happy about it, and there's a bit of a conversation in the laboratory about that. And then you cut to some other people working on their outfits, Eva and Dahlia. Eva really doesn't want to be involved in any of the drama going on with Dahlia anymore, and then Dahlia is kind of starting to sort of suspect that she's not really being perceived in a very good light on the show. Let's get into the looks. First of all, we saw Cynthia Dole come out in the bride look. Honestly, I gasped when I saw this. I was like, oh my god, because she had this bodice on. I don't know what it was made out of, whether it was like a plastic or a metal, but it looked really metal-like, and it was, I don't know, it had like texture as well. It looked really expensive, this bodice that she had on for this bride look. Like, if I'd been there, I would have nabbed that, I would have nicked it and tried to like fit it on my fat self, because it was gorgeous. It was really stunning. It was like a big ball gown style gown with this beautiful bodice, and honestly, great way to like open the runways because she looks so stunning. Then her groom, I don't know why, with Cynthia's groom I was kind of getting a little bit wizard. Like, I don't know if it was like the long grey beard, I was kind of thinking Merlin or what, but yeah, I don't know, like older goth daddy, because it was supposed to be like gothic wedding challenge. I was like, I don't know. First thought that came to mind when I saw the groom look from Cynthia was Merlin. like one of the Disney cartoon guys, you know, like, do you remember like those old films like Sword in the Stone and stuff? That beard, it just reminded me of that. Disasterina went a little bit different than everybody else. Disasterina was giving you like fetish, dom and sub, which, yeah, it is, you know, hand in hand with the goth community, so it made sense. It was funny, it was entertaining to watch. I really liked the idea, so, you know, good on Disasterina for doing something different than everybody else was doing on the stage. You have Priscilla. Now, Priscilla had this big hair for the bride, which kind of reminded me of like Sisters of Mercy, like old Sisters of Mercy videos. And also the groom had similar kind of big hair, and then the whole kind of tattooing themselves on the stage. I thought that was cool because that was like, you know, something that you would see maybe like, you know, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. Remember, like, they had the wedding band tattoos and things like. So it reminded me of like old rockers or old goths. That was what I got from Priscilla's one anyway. So I thought it was really cool. The Boulets didn't seem to love Priscilla's looks as much, but I thought they were really good. Dahlia Black. Dahlia was giving me kind of like medieval vibes with this big red gown. And then the groom, which was a bit like a king. I don't know. I didn't really get it. Sorry, Dahlia, but I didn't get the looks, how they kind of really related to each other that much. I mean, the Boulets just kind of said, oh yeah, well, you know, the dress is pretty and it's, you know, what we expect from you. It looks pretty, it looks like expensive, but they weren't really like overwhelmed with it either. I don't know, for me, it wasn't like rubbish, because Dahlia usually always brings things that look high quality and that look expensive, or like they've had a lot of work go into them. So I'm not going to sit here and, you know, say it was rubbish or anything, because it wasn't at all. But it was just like very expected. There was nothing that made you go like, oh wow, she's done something different this week. Blackberry. Now Blackberry I liked because I thought it was kind of like an 80s horror film, Bride and Groom. So it might not have been like the biggest or most elaborate costumes on stage that night, but I really got like, say like Beetlejuice Bride and Groom from it. And I thought that was cool because it was a bit of a different direction than what everybody else went in. Zavaleta was doing Mexican inspiration, so wanted to bring her culture into it with her bride and her groom. So her groom was on stilts with a big hat and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. The bride, what I wrote down in my notes for the bride, I wrote dark and deadly. So, you know, I kind of liked it. I didn't hate it. The Boulets didn't seem to love it at all. I didn't hate it at all. I thought it was cute, you know, I thought it definitely like fit the theme. To me, she did look like a bride, maybe a bride who was coming on her way from a funeral, but still a bride. And oh my God, you had JK. Now, I absolutely loved JK's look. You want to see what I wrote down for JK's look? In my handy dandy little notebook here, what I wrote down for JK's look was beautifully done bridal gown, thorny rose, groom, execution. I was like 10 out of 10. That's what I wrote down in my dyslexic handy dandy notebook here. I swear, if anyone tried to read my stupid little notebook here, nobody would be able to make any sense of this shit, because you look at it and it's like, it's got words scribbled out, it's got probably too much punctuation and D's and P's and things all the wrong way around. So nobody would be able to figure what the fuck this is about, you know. Abora. Oh my God. Now, yeah, we love Abora over here on this channel. Of course, Abora's look for this bride really reminded me of their season 2 bride look, which I loved at the time. So I wasn't mad at this at all. I thought it was actually really, really smart to do that, because it was kind of reminiscent of season 2. It reminded you of that, and that was nice, you know, nostalgic. And then the groom came out and I was actually really impressed as well. I was like, you know, the wire in the mouth, I really liked. Loved that. Nice touch. I also thought the groom, I don't know why, but the groom reminded me of Jack Skellington as well. So this whole like bride and groom setup that Abora had going on, I thought it was a little bit like Jack Skellington, and something that I could see coming out of Nightmare Before Christmas. very Tim Burton. Like, I don't know why I got that vibe, I just did. I don't know if that was intentional or if that was the plan at all, but like, that was what I got from it. I mean, looking at like Abora's sketches since the show came out, I don't think that was their intention, but I really liked it. I thought it was cute and fun, and like I say, a bit of a kind of flashback to the season 2 bride look as well. Jade Jolie. Now, I love Jade. I'm going to say that first of all. I really love Jade. When I looked at the dress, first of all, that Jade came out in, that red sequin dress, first of all, I wasn't really like blown away. I didn't get wedding because there was no like veil or anything with it. It looked like, you know, a sequin dress that you would perform in the club in. To my mind, it didn't look like a wedding dress, you know. But then I thought, oh, well, maybe it's like a Britney Spears quickie wedding in Vegas, you know. Remember when Britney got married in jeans and a t-shirt? And I thought, oh, well, maybe it's that kind of a vibe, you know. Maybe she's just come from the club and got married in Vegas. Who knows? Thought Jade's groom was actually really cool. I put down in my notes that I thought the groom was very Guns N' Roses. So that's kind of like, you know, 80s rock. I don't know if it's necessarily gothic, fitting in with the gothic theme. The other person who looked really, really beautiful was Jaharia. Jaharia looked so stunning in this blue and white, like the white makeup with blue contour, and then the gown with all the blue stoning on it. It was beautiful. It was a little bit kind of like ball gown maybe rather than wedding. And I don't know if it's just because I like Tim Burton, but I was also thinking maybe the blue was a little bit kind of corpse bridey. Maybe that was what they were trying to go for. I don't know. But it was very like ball gowny, promy, but gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. She looked so beautiful standing there in that dress. I was like, that's, you know, it looked so expensive, and the time it must have taken to do all the stoning, whoever made it. Beautiful. And then we had Sigourney's. Now, Sigourney's I liked. The only thing I'm going to say is with the water, like, because she had the curse, of course, of the rain on your wedding day, I expected to see like Sigourney come out and be like a drowned rat, and she wasn't. She came out and there was maybe just like a few little water driplets on her, and I was like, what's this? I thought the idea was it was rain on your wedding day, so that you were supposed to be like bedraggled and like a drowned rat, you know. I thought that was the idea with this. So when we saw Sigourney come out, I was like, hang on a minute, this doesn't even look like she's had any water thrown on her at all. Like, I was like, girl, where's the water? Where? Like, it looked like her outfit was heavy. I'll say that. Like, it looked, you know, a lot to be carrying around and all that. But I was like, where's the wet beaver that you promised us? You know, I was like, I don't get it. Yeah, I felt a bit shortchanged by the whole rain on your wedding day curse. That didn't really give us anything, I thought. You know, when you saw like the behind the scenes of that, Sigourney was just kind of having someone put a hose on her, and it's like, I know that wasn't her fault, but like, I was like, little drip from a hose and that's rain on your wedding day? No, come on. You know, it should have been like bucket of water over the head, dripped, ruined makeup, because I think that could have been really cool and fashionable. Like, it could have been, you know, quite editorial, it could have been dramatic, but we didn't get any of that from it. But the groom, I liked Sigourney's groom look. It was sexy and it was very like lesbian wedding vibes, you know, rather than like drag king or anything like that with the groom. It was more like high power lesbian couple. That's what I got from it, which, you know, I like. Last one, Eva Destruction. Eva came out with this kind of like spider wig. Now, I love Eva Destruction, and the makeup was beautiful. The outfit, everything was really put together really well, I thought. Stunning, you know, this whole Black Widow bride look, and then the groom. Oh my god, I loved Eva's groom look. Really, really loved it. Like, the attention to detail with this groom look was incredible, I thought. You had like spider web all around him, and he was in like a white suit, so the spider web was wrapped round and you got all the little spiders in it. And the makeup, like the contouring, everything was done like so perfectly. and really, really drag king look, you know, real proper drag king look, which was something that not all of the contestants had done, so it was different as well. You know, I kind of got the concept that the bride had eaten the groom by catching him in a web, you know, so I thought that was cute because that was different. The concept was different, like with JK, with the roses concept, where the roses were at the bottom of JK's dress, and then JK was like a thorny rose for the groom, upright, you know. The concepts from both JK and Eva I thought were brilliant. Then JK won, and there was a little bit of drama in the cauldron after the runways. You had Abora saying about Dolia, oh, it's a shame that the shittiest people are the most talented. A little bit mean from Abora. Abora doesn't normally like get involved like that, really. I mean, we saw Abora go off a little bit on Titans the first time when they weren't kind of, you know, getting good critiques and stuff. We saw that, but this time Abora just kind of sat in the corner on their own and said that little comment about Dolia. Bottom three this week were La Zavaleta. You had Jade and Disasterina. Zavaleta was saved, and then Jade and Disasterina went up the ghastly gallows, and Jade went down. It's really sad to see Jade go down. Not that I wanted Disasterina to go down at all, because I don't, because I think Disasterina is brilliant TV. I think we need Disasterina on this season for as long as possible. But yeah, I was sad to see Jade go down because I think that Jade is funny with Priscilla, and I'm going to miss seeing those two together. But after the whole ghostly gallows thing, we then see that the Boulets have got a twist planned. So the twist is that there's going to be what's called the Hellbound Showdown, which is where one of the eliminated contestants will get to stay and one of them will be sent packing. We had Frankie Doom and Loris competing against each other in like a runway, and honestly, like, I didn't know, I like them both. I would have been happy with whoever stayed, but as it was time for Frankie to go, and that's not great because, like, I don't know, I would have liked to see more from some of the season 1 competitors myself, but you know, someone had to go and it was Frankie, sadly. Then Loris got to stay another week, but the tea with this is none of the other competitors know that this is happening. They don't know that this is going on. So with the Hellbound Showdown, as far as I understood it, it was like you're going to have to compete against the competitor who loses that week, and then whoever's the best of the two of you gets to stay on until next week. But of course the other competitors don't know that this is going on at all. Like, no one of them have any idea. And then somebody is just going to turn up in the final. So I guess we'll have like a final 3, and then another competitor that's just going to like rock up to the final and shock everybody, which I think is a good twist. I think this is a good way to do it. I'm excited to see how it pans out. So we will see. And I'm going to love you and leave you here on this one. I'm going to say take care, stay safe, stay well. I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Mwah. Bye.